How long can you hide the truth from the one you love before it destroys everything? Welcome to Gorgeous Chaos, the electrifying next chapter in Tiek, Leigh's emotionally charged Beautiful Mess series, a romantic suspense that dares to ask, how far would you go to protect someone from a truth that could shatter them? Olivia Adler is finally beginning to breathe again. After years of heartbreak and loss, she's found a path forward and a love worth fighting for. But secrets never stay buried forever. Alexander Burnham, the man who vowed to protect her, knows the truth about Olivia's past truths so dangerous. They could destroy everything. As Olivia's memories begin to resurface, and dark shadows from her past close in, the stakes grow higher, and the line between protection and deception starts to blur. In a world where nothing is as it seems, and trust is a fragile thing, Olivia must piece together a shattered past before it costs her the future she's only just begun to dream of. With heart-pounding suspense, searing romance, and jaw-dropping revelations, Gorgeous Chaos will leave you breathless and begging for more. This is not just a love story, it's a story of survival, identity, and the courage to face the truth no matter the cost. Press play and step into a world of secrets, passion, and a love that refuses to let go, even when chaos reigns. Chapter 1. Thank you, Mama. Sun filtered into the elegant master bedroom, waking up Sarah Olivia Adler on a bright Saturday in March. She stretched, a smile spreading across her face as she recalled the events of the previous night. Alexander loved her, and she loved him. She was able to say those 3 words that had scared her most of her life. Her heart felt as if it would explode when the image flashed through her mind of Alexander dropping down on one knee, asking her to be his wife. It all made perfect sense. The dream she had all those months ago in Newport that scared her to death, causing her to flee, was suddenly clear. She firmly believed that her mama was sending her a message, from wherever she was, with that dream. Once Alexander sang that song, the song Olivia remembered so well from her childhood, the song her mama was singing in her dream as she danced with the green-eyed boy. She knew it was meant to be. She knew it was useless to fight it anymore. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered, glancing at the large diamond on her ring finger. Turning over, she reached her arm across the mattress, surprised when all she felt was the cold of the bed. Alexander wasn't there. She looked at the clock on the nightstand and sat straight up. It was almost noon. Olivia couldn't remember the last time she had slept the entire night and woken up so late. She grabbed Alexander's white suit shirt that he had been wearing the night before and threw it on, remembering the first weekend she stayed with him and how turned on he got when she walked around wearing his clothes. She barely recognized the girl she was all those months ago, and she knew that she had Alexander to thank for finally breaking down her walls. After pulling her wavy brown hair into a messy bun, she made her way downstairs, searching for her fiancé. An infectious smile crossed her face when she spotted him sitting at the breakfast bar, drinking his coffee and reading the newspaper. She sauntered up to him and kissed him full on the lips as he slinked his arm around her slender waist. Alexander closed his eyes and moaned, pulling her against his body, and slipped his hand under the shirt she wore. "I love the feel of your skin, Olivia," he said quietly. Her eyes became aglow at his affectionate words, and she curved toward him, her lips poised on his. "And I love it when you feel my skin, Alexander," she replied, kissing him once more. "You look hot," he commented, his voice raspy and sexy. "I like you in my clothes." "Coffee." He ran a finger up and down Olivia's spine, causing her to shiver before pulling back. "I can get it. You sit," she replied, giving him a quick kiss on his neck and walking around the kitchen island. She grabbed a mug and made herself a cup of coffee before returning to the breakfast bar and sitting next to him. "So, there are a few things we should probably discuss." His voice was firm as he turned to her with an austere expression on his face. "What's that?" Olivia asked, raising her coffee mug to her lips. "Have you spoken to my sister?" He lifted his eyebrows, already knowing what her response would most likely be. She hid her eyes from him, recalling how she had spent the past several days since running out on Alexander after he declared his love for her. "No, I'm sorry. I just kind of ignored life this week." He exhaled loudly. "I figured as much." He took a sip of coffee. When he put his mug down, a stern look crossed his face, his vibrant green eyes intense. "Crap," Olivia thought to herself. "Well, Simon was released from prison yesterday. So, let me guess," she said loudly, standing up from her bar stool. "Now you're going to assign an army to watch me. Is that what this is about, Alex?" She glared at him, her hands on her hips in irritation. "Hey, relax," he responded, caressing her arm. "That's not what this is about at all." His eyes pleaded with her not to be upset. She stared at him for several long moments before a small smile crossed her expression. How could she stay mad at that adorable face, her aggravation waning? She sat back down and waited for him to continue. He raised his hand and pushed an errant curl that had fallen out of her bun behind her ear, gently brushing her forehead where her scar was. "I know I can be overbearing at times." "Ya think," Olivia interrupted with a sarcastic tone. "Don't get fresh with me," he growled into her ear, "or I'll teach that mouth of yours a lesson." His words sent a primal desire through her body. All she could do was stare at him with her mouth open, thinking how much she wanted him to teach her a lesson. Moisture pooled between her legs at the thought. "I'm just trying to keep you safe, Olivia. That's all," he said, immediately switching from the passionate lover to the concerned fiancé. "I protect the people I care about who are important to me. That's why I need to be in control, to keep everyone close to me safe. You're the most important person in my life." Grabbing her chin, he forced her to look him in the eyes to see the truth in his words. "So if I'm overbearing at times, I apologize. I just want to make sure that nothing bad happens to you." "I'm sorry," she responded, her voice husky. She wondered if Alexander would always have that effect on her. She loved how caring and compassionate he was. Guilt spread through her conscience for jumping down his throat about protecting her when all he was trying to do was keep her safe from someone who had a history of attacking her. She knew he had issues with control. She guessed it went back to his childhood when he lost his friend all those years ago. He had admitted how helpless he felt after her death. So, back to Simon. He cleared his throat, releasing his grasp on Olivia's chin. She took a sip of her coffee and listened. "Like I said, he's out of prison. You probably have a notice sitting in your mailbox about all of this. Anyway, the protective order has been lifted. He is free to contact you if he wants." Olivia glanced at Alexander, his face weary. "Do you understand what that means, love? It's just a piece of paper anyway." "Alexander, even if it hadn't been lifted, it wouldn't change anything. If he really wanted to see me, that protective order wasn't going to stop him," she said, withholding from him that Simon had already violated the protective order not even a week after he was arrested for attacking her back in August. "You're absolutely right. But I just wanted to warn you to be careful. We know this Mark Kiddish, or Donovan O'Loughlin, paid Simon's attorney fees, but we have no idea if there's more to the connection than that. We still don't know what Kiddish could possibly want from you. He lied. Should I be worried?" Olivia stared into his eyes, searching for the truth. He debated telling her everything. He wanted to, but her father's warning lay heavy on his heart and his mind. What if Jack was right? What if her lack of memory was the only thing that had kept her alive those past 20-plus years? "Let me worry about Simon. You just worry about planning a wedding." He winked. "Holy shit, I totally forgot about that." Alexander looked at her, aghast. "Don't give me that look. I'm still trying to get my head around the fact that I'm getting married." She bounced up and down on her bar stool, excitement oozing from her infectious grin. Alexander couldn't help but smile at her in return. "I can't wait until you have my last name." "Olivia," he said softly, grabbing her hand and gently kissing her knuckles. She was instantly reminded of the night that she met him. An awareness of complete euphoria washed over her from Alexander's sensual words and presence. and she truly believed that running into him outside her office building was the best thing to ever happen to her. Alexander's cell phone started to ring, breaking their moment. He glanced down at the caller ID. "Sorry, love. It's my mom. I should probably tell her that I'm getting married, if she doesn't already know." He slid off the bar stool and answered the phone. "Good morning, Ma." "Is it true?" Colleen Burnham asked excitedly. "I was watching the news this morning and they're reporting that you're rumored to be engaged." "Darling." Alexander laughed. "Yes, Ma. I asked Olivia to marry me last night." She squealed out in joy. "Oh, Alex, I'm so happy for you. Gosh, after all these years, who would have thought? Is she there? Can I speak with her?" "Mom?" "Alex, don't worry. I won't say anything. I promise. But you need to before it's too late and you lose her again," she scolded before softening her voice. "I just want to talk to her about the wedding. Girl stuff." "Fine." Alexander handed the phone to Olivia. "It's my mom. She wants to speak with you." Olivia sent him a questioning look. "Don't worry," he mouthed. She smiled. Taking the phone, Mrs. Burnham. "Good morning, Olivia, dear. And please call me Colleen." "Sorry, Colleen. I just wanted to offer you my congratulations on your engagement." "Darling." "Thank you. It still hasn't really sunk in. I'm sure it will take a bit. Anyway, I wanted to invite you and Alex over to the house this evening for a little family get-together. The reason I'm asking you is because he'll shoot me down right away. He likes to keep you for himself. Selfish bastard." Olivia laughed. That sounded like Alexander. "You're going to become a member of our family," Colleen continued. "And I'd like to introduce you to everyone. I'd love to." "Colleen, that sounds wonderful." Olivia couldn't believe the words that came out of her mouth. Just a week ago, she was scared to meet Alexander's mother. Now, she was agreeing to a family gathering. Alexander looked at Olivia, raising his eyebrows in an inquisitive manner. "Family dinner at your mom's," she mouthed. He held out his hand for the phone. She responded by raising her finger, indicating that he would have to hold on. "I'm looking forward to seeing you and the rock I heard about on television this morning." Olivia held her hand in front of her and admired her new piece of jewelry. "Your son does have excellent taste. I taught him well. Please put Alex back on and I'll see you this evening." "I look forward to it," she replied before returning the phone to Alexander. "Mother, what do you think you're doing?" he seethed, his teeth clenched. "Oh, nothing, dear. Just having a little family get-together this evening at the house. Don't worry. Mrs. Carlson is helping me prepare it and rid it of anything Olivia-related." Alexander sighed, worried that being back in Mystic could trigger memories about her past, a past that could kill her. "I'm not going to win this fight with you. Am I?" "Not a chance. See you tonight," Colleen said before hanging up. Alexander shook his head in defeat, turning to face Olivia. "Well, you better pack a bag. Love, we're heading to Connecticut for the evening." She gasped. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize your mother lived in Connecticut. I would have spoken with you first if I had known." She made it sound as if she was close by, or maybe I just assumed she was. Alexander laughed. "She can be a bit deceiving at times. I think that's where I get it from." Chapter 2. The Death of Me. The air was thick with tension as Alexander drove with Olivia from Boston toward Connecticut that afternoon. Glancing at the man she was going to marry, Olivia couldn't help but notice his rigid and taut stature, as if he was uptight about the party that evening. "I'm looking forward to seeing where you grew up," she said, breaking the strained silence. "Are you sure that you're okay with this? We can go back if you want to." Alexander met her eyes briefly, a nervous expression permanently drawn on his face at the thought of being back in his childhood home with Olivia. She reached across the car and grabbed his hand. "I'm fine with it," she reassured him. "Are you going to be okay being there? I know it's difficult for you." She trailed off, looking out the window at the rolling green hills. She should have known that it would be painful for him to be in a place where he would be surrounded by constant reminders of the friend he lost when he was just a young child. "It's okay. I'm fine with it. Ever since I met you, it's been much easier for me to deal with the memories." He squeezed her hand and gave her a comforting look before returning his eyes to the road. Over the last several months, he had been able to confront his memories, but, in turn, was constantly forced to hide information from the girl sitting next to him. He had to remind himself that it was necessary to keep those secrets from her. It was the only way he could protect his Olivia. Before long, he maneuvered his Maserati off the freeway and onto the main road through Mystic. Olivia took in her surroundings as they made their way toward the downtown area. Driving past the train station, she furrowed her brow. "Penny, for your thoughts?" he asked with a hint of apprehension upon noticing her expression. "This place looks familiar," she replied as they drove over the drawbridge, passing Alexander's favorite ice cream shop. "It's a fairly popular place in Connecticut and New England. Really. There's a lot of maritime history here. In fact, at one time, the house I grew up in belonged to a sea captain. I was obsessed with boats and ships when I was younger. Maybe that's why I wanted to go into the Navy so badly." "No, I don't ever remember visiting here," she said quietly, her eyes still glued to all the old buildings, "but it just seems familiar." Olivia stared as they drove down Main Street, searching her brain for a memory that wouldn't come. Within a few minutes, Alexander pulled his car into the long driveway of his house overlooking the Mystic River. Worried that being back inside his home would stir even stronger memories, he wanted to throttle his mother for her harebrained notion that it was a good idea to bring Olivia back here. "This is where you grew up?" Olivia asked, astonished at the breathtaking large white house with a wraparound porch. "It's beautiful." "Alexander." She got out of the car, gazing over the river at a tall ship docked on the opposite side of the bank. "What a view." Alexander stared at her, relieved that perhaps she truly had no memory of her childhood. She grew up just a few houses down from him and had the same view. She practically lived at Alexander's house most of the time, and yet she acted as if it was the first time she had ever laid eyes on the river. And the house, starting to relax, he walked up to her and pulled her into his embrace. "If you're good, I'll take you down the street and buy you some ice cream later." He swatted her ass, making her jump, before leading her up the driveway and into the house. She followed him down a long hallway, past several formal living rooms and an ornate dining room, and into the kitchen. "Olivia, darling," Colleen said, embracing her as she entered the open, modern room. "It's wonderful to see you. I'm so glad that you dragged my son here." She pulled back, winking. "Alex, please take your things upstairs while your fiancé and I have a little chat." "Mom? Hush, I don't bite, dear." Alexander rolled his eyes and carried their bags up the stairs to his room. "Now, dear, let me see the ring," Colleen said, turning back to Olivia. She held out her hand. "Oh, my." She exhaled, holding Olivia's hand up to her eyes for a closer inspection. "That is beautiful. I wonder if he picked it out himself. Based on his closet at home, I'd guess so. He does have fantastic taste in clothes." Colleen laughed. "He absolutely does. I guess that's what happens when you grow up with mostly women as influences." "Stop talking about me, you two," Alexander joked, making his way back downstairs after scanning the walls to ensure that his mother had done a thorough enough job of ridding the house of anything Olivia-related. "Well, listen, why don't you both relax for a while? People won't start to arrive until 7, so you've got plenty of time to go for a walk or whatever you want. It's finally supposed to be such a nice evening, so I had everything set up out back." "Ma, who all is coming?" Alexander glared at his mother. She loved to throw a party. "Oh, you know, family." Alexander walked toward the back door, gazing at their expansive backyard to see that it was set up for roughly 100 guests. "Mom, this is not a small little get-together. We have a large family. Now out with you two so I can finish getting everything ready." Alexander looked over at Olivia, a look of panic across her face. "Come with me. Gorgeous." He pulled her hand and led her out of the house. "Want to go for a walk?" Olivia nodded, needing a minute to calm her nerves. "I'm sorry about all of this," Alexander said, clutching her hand as they walked along the river toward downtown Mystic on the warm early spring day. "It's okay," she replied nervously, letting out the breath that she had been holding. "I know that I need to get used to it. I just grew up with no family. My uncle was the only family I really had." She looked down at her hand enclosed in his, as she savored the warmth of his skin on hers, feeling comfort in the innocent contact. Were you close to him? He was desperate for more information about his father's secret life. It's hard to say. Olivia hadn't thought about her younger years in quite a long time. He was my legal guardian, but I really only saw him during summers. He had a house on Folly Beach right outside of Charleston, and we would spend our summers there. But he always seemed somewhat distant. Mom died, leaving me a fortune, as you know, and when I was younger, he hired a nanny to take care of me. Sorry. It's okay, Olivia said, shrugging. I guess I was better off than a lot of girls I was in school with. Most of them were sent to the boarding school so that their parents could travel and not be saddled with dealing with their kids. At least I had no parents. I guess the hardest part was around the holidays. How so? Well, even though all the other girls' parents dumped them at some school so they didn't have to actually care for them, at least they got presents and cards. I was the only one who never got anything. My nanny would sometimes send me a small little something. But when you're a little kid and you see everyone else around you opening gifts, and you don't have anything to open, it's difficult. You start to think that nobody loves you enough to remember to send you a gift for Christmas, or even your birthday. Fuck, Alexander said under his breath, wondering why his father would agree to look after the girl and then practically ignore her. Olivia glanced at him as they strolled along the riverbank past rows of historic homes. Tell me about it. They walked in silence for a moment. I had some pretty good friends there, especially in middle school and high school. Her mouth turned slightly upwards, thinking about the girls she used to hang around with. We used to get in so much trouble together. Alexander listened as she recalled her younger years, wishing he had known her during that time in her life. Maybe both of their lives would have turned out differently. Then again, if she hadn't been taken from him, maybe they would have eventually grown apart, as childhood friends often do. He shuddered at the thought of not having her in his life. As the years went on, I spent more and more time at the school, Olivia said, bringing him back from his thoughts. My uncle was hesitant at first. He could be overbearing at times. She tilted her head to look at Alexander with a playful expression. You probably would have gotten along wonderfully. You remind me of him a little bit. His breath caught and his eyes met hers, silently questioning her. You know, you're both rather protective of me, she explained. It's cute and all, but you do realize that I'm an adult, right, Alex? Of course I do, he responded, bringing her hand to his mouth and placing a gentle kiss on her knuckles. But I just have this deep-seated need to look out for you and keep you safe. She opened her mouth to say something and then closed it, not wanting to argue after they were getting along so well. Anyway, my uncle finally relented and allowed me to stay at school during the holidays so I could participate in sports and theater and other stuff. Of course, before he agreed to that. He made sure the security in place during regular sessions was exactly the same. He was just as paranoid as you. She winked. There was more silence as they turned onto Main Street. Olivia took in the narrow street with the drawbridge, everything seeming eerily familiar to her. There's an oyster place over the bridge, isn't there? Alexander stopped in his tracks, causing several tourists to almost bump into him before they maneuvered around him, cursing underneath their breath. How do you know that? He met her gaze, his heart racing in his chest. I have no idea. She blanched. That seems to be happening a lot lately, as if I had been to certain places before. You know, the accident. He continued walking with Olivia by his side, hoping her surroundings didn't stir any more memories. Do you recall anything about your life before the accident? Not really. I guess my brain just forgot everything. My uncle told me that I couldn't even remember my name due to the head injury I had suffered. The doctors hoped that I would get my memory back once I returned to my regular life and went home. But I guess Charleston didn't hold any memories for me because nothing ever came back. That's kind of depressing. Well, I've got the cure for that, Olivia said, eyeing the ice cream shop adjacent to the drawbridge. Ice cream? Alexander laughed. Okay, you got it. Love. He pulled her along, skirting by tourists exploring the shops in downtown Mystic. They walked through the front door of the relatively empty shop, making their way to the counter to order. What'll it be? Olivia Alexander asked. She took in her surroundings. The store looked familiar, just like the rest of the town. Scoop of strawberry, scoop of rocky road with pineapples on top. She replied without even thinking about it. Are you serious? Alexander asked with a blank expression. Olivia laughed. Yeah. I don't know why I'm ordering that. I don't think I've ever had it, but something about this place makes it seem like the right decision. Okay, you got it. He placed their order and handed her the bowl full of ice cream. Is that a park across the street? She asked, sticking a spoon in her frozen treat. Yes. Do you want to go sit over there? Her eyes widened. Yes, please, she responded excitedly. We can watch the boats come by. Alexander stilled again, thinking that bringing Olivia to Mystic was probably the worst idea his mother had ever come up with. He remembered doing the same exact thing with her when they were growing up. It didn't help that he had ordered what he always did when he and Olivia were kids, vanilla with cherries on top. Are you coming? Olivia asked, holding the door open for him. He snapped out of it. Yes. Sorry, I'm coming. He walked behind her, checking out her tall, slender body from behind as they made their way across the drawbridge. She glimpsed over her shoulder and shivered from the primal stare Alexander gave her. See something you like, Mr. Burnham? She winked. I see something I love, Miss Adler. He slinked his arm around her waist and planted an affectionate kiss on her temple as they walked across the street to the park and sat down on a bench, looking out over the river. It's so peaceful here, Olivia remarked, enjoying the feeling of the light breeze on her skin. I think I would have enjoyed living here as a child. There must have been so much to do. It was a good place to grow up. Alexander recalled spending nearly every day with Olivia. He remembered how she cried when he got to start school, but she was still too young. He smiled, thinking how her eyes lit up when he stopped by her house after that first day and told her all about it. She had been coloring with her mother, and she excitedly ran into her playroom, handing him a piece of construction paper with a drawing on it. It was supposed to be of the two of them sitting on a bench at the park eating ice cream. He wondered if he still had that somewhere at his house. And, what kid wouldn't love living right down the street from an ice cream shop? Olivia brought him back from his memories as she took another bite, moaning with pleasure. Alexander glanced at her, leaning into her neck. You better stop with that, or I'm going to throw you on the ground and have my way with you. And I don't care who's around to watch. He growled, his voice husky. Olivia's spine straightened, her eyes growing wide. She met Alexander's gaze, the heat emanating from it palpable. She swallowed hard. That's pretty fucking hot. She grabbed another spoonful of ice cream, brought it to her lips, opened her mouth slightly, and took a bite while Alexander watched her, his expression intense. She closed her eyes, moaning as she slowly slid the spoon out of her mouth. Do you want me to fuck you, Olivia? He whispered in her ear. She opened her eyes to see Alexander looking at her with a hooded stare. Yes, she exhaled. He grabbed her hair, tilting her head back to expose her neck. Yes. What? Olivia's blood spiked. She loved playing his little game. Yes, Mr. Burnham, that's better. He stood up, grabbing her hand. Let's get home. He pulled her down Main Street. The short walk back home seemed to take an eternity. Oh, you're back, Colleen said, spotting Alexander and Olivia as they practically ran through the front door. Yes, we're back. Olivia wants to lie down. See you soon. Ma, Alexander said quickly, rushing through the living room in the direction of the staircase. Okay, go easy. Kids, that bed isn't nearly as sturdy as it used to be. Olivia stopped dead in her tracks on the stairs and turned to look at Alexander, her face bright red. A wicked grin spread across his face and he couldn't help but laugh. I used to be your age once, too. You know, she explained. Olivia gawked at Colleen, speechless. Come on, love, Alexander said, still laughing. Picking her up, he slung her over his shoulder, making her squeal with excitement when he playfully smacked her ass. He opened the door to his childhood bedroom. Thankful his mother and Mrs. Carlson had taken down all the photos he had of him when he was a boy. Placing Olivia on her feet, he sat on the edge of the bed, glaring at her with a lustful expression. Strip, he ordered. Fuck, this is hot, she thought to herself as her eyes roamed his beautiful body. She met Alexander's stare and slowly unbuttoned her jeans, taking her time lowering them to the floor, her eyes never leaving his. "Are you trying to be a tease, Olivia?" he asked sternly. "I am not a patient man. I said strip. Now." The tone of his voice made her heart race even faster. She lifted her shirt over her head before quickly removing her bra and panties. "That's better," he said, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Olivia gaped at the muscular biceps threatening to bust the seams of his t-shirt. "Now, getting back to our conversation in the park," he said, bringing her back from her thoughts about his gorgeous frame. "Do you want me to fuck you?" He surveyed Olivia's naked body as she stood in front of him, her engagement ring the only item she wore. He felt a twitch in his pants. "Yes, Mr. Burnham," she replied quietly. "Ask me." "Then," he ordered, his voice full of hunger and yearning. Reaching out, he grabbed her hips, pulling her closer to him. He planted kisses across her stomach before lowering his head, licking between her legs. "Fuck!" Olivia breathed out when Alexander stopped a few seconds later. "I said ask me, Olivia." He looked up at her, gently plunging a finger inside of her. She squirmed in response. "Will you fuck me, Mr. Burnham?" She exhaled, the sensation of just one finger inside of her too much. Standing up, Alexander rid himself of his clothes in a hurry. He walked up behind her, brushed her hair to one side, and kissed her exposed neck. "Hold on to the bedpost and lean over, love." His voice was gentle and soft. Olivia still marveled at the dichotomy of the man she had fallen in love with. Sex was always different, no matter how many times they did it. She walked over to the bedpost and placed her hands on it, bending over, using the frame to support her body. "You should see the view I have right now," he commented, curving toward her, his lips warm against her neck. Olivia looked over her shoulder as he softly caressed her ass, setting her body on fire from the anticipation. "It's hot." He gently eased himself into her, filling her completely. She moaned out, the sensation of Alexander slowly pushing into her from behind overwhelming her once more. "You like that, Olivia?" he asked, withdrawing before entering her again. She closed her eyes, reveling in the electricity coursing through her veins from Alexander's gentle motion. "I asked you a question, Olivia." He grabbed onto her hips and leaned down once more. "And I expect an answer." He growled into her ear. "Yes," she exhaled as he continued his deliberate movements. "I know that I always say this, but you feel so damn good." He grunted. She met his rhythm thrust for thrust, her breathing becoming erratic as she fought against her orgasm. "Do you like it slow like this, or do you want it fast?" She moaned, not wanting to answer. She was ready to fall apart from the gentle pace Alexander was maintaining. She couldn't even imagine what would happen if he picked up the tempo. She thought she would explode. "Slow, Alexander, please," she begged. A grin spread across his face as he continued filling her. "And why's that, Olivia? Are you ready to come already?" he asked, dragging his tongue across her shoulder blade. "Is my cock too much for you to handle?" he whispered against her skin. She closed her eyes, convinced that Alexander could make her come from his words alone. "Well, Olivia," Alexander said, his voice demanding. "Is it?" "No," she responded. "No," what he growled, pulling her hair back and slowly increasing the pace. "No, Mr. Burnham." She exhaled, her voice barely above a whisper. She knew her orgasm was imminent. She felt as if she was wound tighter than she could remember in all her years, and she didn't know why or how that could even be possible. "We'll see about that. I have a feeling my cock is more than you can handle, Olivia. You always come so quickly when I start driving into you, don't you?" he commented. She could hear the smile in the tone of his voice. Her heart began to race, not wanting to respond to him. She knew it was absolutely true. Alexander completed her in more ways than one. "Well, if you're not going to answer, we'll just have to test my theory." He immediately began plunging into her at a punishing pace. "Fuck!" Olivia screamed out, her body trembling as her orgasm overtook her entire being, waves of ecstasy rolling through her core. "Holy shit," Alexander said, thrusting into her faster, turned on by her shaking body underneath him. He soon found his own release, screaming out Olivia's name, forgetting that his mother was just down the stairs and could probably hear everything that they were doing. Once their breathing began to slow, he placed his hand over her stomach, helping to lower her onto the bed. She lay on her back, utterly spent. She turned her head to see Alexander in the same position. "Sex with you is always fucking fantastic," she said, smiling, her body still tingling from her orgasm. Alexander was still breathing heavy as a sly grin crept across his face. "It absolutely is." They both stared at the ceiling for several long minutes, trying to get their breathing under control. "Hey," Olivia Alexander said, breaking the silence. "Yeah." She turned her head to look at him. "Have I told you today how much I love you?" She dragged her finger up and down his sculpted chest. "Yeah, but you can say it again." She repositioned herself so she was lying on her side, propping herself up with her elbow. Alexander followed suit. "I love you, Sarah Olivia Adler." He ran his hand up and down the length of her body. "I love you too, Alexander Thomas Burnham," she replied, pushing him onto his back and climbing on top of him. Alexander growled, loving the feeling of her soft flesh on his body. She placed her legs on either side of him, and he could feel the warmth emanating from between them. He raised his eyebrows. Olivia nodded before slowly lowering herself onto him, his erection hard again. "You're going to be the death of me, Olivia." He exhaled as she started moving up and down, moaning. Chapter 3. Letting him in. Olivia awoke from an afternoon nap, admiring the beautiful man sleeping peacefully next to her. She glanced around the large bedroom, the duvet and several pillows thrown on the floor. A grin spread across her face, thinking about the amazing sex she had with Alexander just a few hours earlier. She pried herself out of his arms and went in search of a much-needed bathroom. Grabbing her jeans and sweater, she threw them on before quietly walking over to the door, thankful when it didn't creak and wake up Alexander. After finding a bathroom, she went to see if his mother needed any help getting things ready for that evening. The house was eerily quiet as she walked down the stairs searching for Colleen. "They must all be outside," she said to herself. She headed in the direction of the back door. When a room off the hallway caught her eye, she stopped dead in her tracks, a memory rushing back. Her 5th birthday. Her mama had made her a cake in the shape of a Care Bear. She could have sworn she remembered her mama and the green-eyed boy from the dream sitting beside her in that very room, singing to her as she blew out the candles on that cake. Turning, she headed toward the ornate dining room, the table and chairs all covered with sheets. Walking around the room, she felt as if she had been there before, but that was impossible. She hadn't even known Alexander for a year, and this was the first time he invited her home with him. Still, the smell and sounds in that room were strangely familiar. She scanned the walls and her eyes settled on a large picture frame covered with a white sheet. The other portraits weren't hidden. Curious. She slowly made her way to the center of the room where the enormous frame hung. She gingerly began to raise the sheet, wondering what was underneath. "Olivia, dear, there you are," Colleen called out, startling her. She jumped, placing her hand over her chest. "Colleen, I'm sorry. I came downstairs to see if you needed any help, and I guess I got a little sidetracked." She shrugged her shoulders, feeling guilty that she was caught snooping around. Colleen walked over to Olivia and placed her hands on her shoulders, trying to lead her out of the room and away from the large family portrait of Alexander and Olivia as children. "I understand. It happens to the best of us." "Colleen," Olivia said, raising her voice, "why is that portrait covered up?" She stopped, turning to look at her. She hated having to lie to the poor girl, particularly when her son should have simply told her the truth by now. He swore he would tell her, and she didn't want to interfere, not yet. "Anyway, I'm sorry, Olivia. It's just that whenever Alexander comes home, I try to rid the house of any memories of—" "Oh," she said, understanding. "I should have known." She turned to head back upstairs, her shoulders slightly dropping. "Olivia, dear," Colleen called out. She stopped and faced her. "He loves you very much. I've never seen him so happy in all his life, even when he was a little boy." She smiled before retreating back outside, leaving Olivia alone with her thoughts about Alexander and why the dining room in that house brought back memories of her 5th birthday. "Libby! Libby!" Libby, Kira shouted, running up to her friend as she stood underneath a string of Chinese lanterns in Alexander's large backyard. Olivia couldn't believe her eyes when she walked outside that evening. The transformation was remarkable, particularly after such short notice. White party lights were strung all across the lawn, casting a subtle glow on the backyard. Tables and chairs were set up, but most of the guests milled about socializing with each other as servers walked through with trays of hors d'oeuvres. Olivia was shocked that Alexander's mother could pull something like that off in a few short hours. But she was even more surprised to see Kira walk in with Mo and the rest of the guys in the band, followed by Melanie and Bridget. "Oh my God, what are you guys doing here?" She looked at her friends and then at Alexander. "I called Kira while you were in the shower before we left Boston," he explained. "I figured it would be nice for you to have a few familiar faces here." Olivia leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. "Thank you. You're the best boyfriend ever." "He's not your boyfriend anymore," Slut Kira exclaimed, her green eyes brimming with enthusiasm. She laughed. "That's right, I'm never going to get used to that." "Guys," Alexander interrupted, talking to Mo and the rest of the band. "You can set up your gear over on the stage. You can play for 5 minutes or 5 hours. Doesn't matter to me. Just enjoy yourselves." Olivia looked at Alexander again, noticing a makeshift stage set up that she hadn't seen earlier. "They asked if they could play at the party tonight. My mother was thrilled that I was able to find a band at the last minute." He winked. Over the next hour, more and more people started arriving. Alexander introduced Olivia to his relatives, as well as several family friends. A few people seemed to look at her awkwardly, almost as if they were silently questioning Alexander. Olivia couldn't help but feel that he wasn't being entirely truthful about something. She thought they were past that, but now she wasn't too sure. "Come on, Libby," Kira said, waking Olivia from her unsettled thoughts. "Let's go dance. I'm stealing your girl." "Alex, enjoy it while you can," Kira Alexander said, brushing his lips against Olivia's temple before Kira dragged her away. They made their way through the party guests mingling on the enormous lawn. Soon finding Melanie and Bridget, Kira pulled her deep red hair back and started to move to the rhythm of an Alan Stone tune the guys were playing, the rest of the girls soon joining in. "So, I'm thinking bachelorette in Vegas. You game?" Kira asked above the music. "We haven't even set a date yet. It still hasn't sunk in that I'm getting married." "Oh," Melanie squealed. "I'm just so excited." The tall, skinny blonde jumped up and down animatedly. "And don't even say you're picking someone else for your maid of honor because I'll make a scene right here in front of everyone," Kira joked. "Of course I want you to be my maid of honor," she responded. "I think I'm going to keep the wedding party small, though. Just you, Bridget, and Melanie." She smiled affectionately at her other 2 best friends who were brimming with enthusiasm. "I'm not really close to anyone else. Well, not close enough that I'd want them standing by my side on the most important day of my life." "Oh, Libby!" Kira exclaimed, hugging her and nearly spilling both of their drinks. "I love you too, bitch." "So, what's the deal with you and Tyler?" Olivia asked Melanie, wanting to change the subject. She nodded toward the younger version of Alexander as he stood by the bar, discreetly checking out Melanie. "Oh, when they're together, he can't keep his eyes off her," Bridget explained, grinning. "But neither one of them will make the first move and ask the other one out." "Shut up, guys, he's just so flippin' hot," Melanie exclaimed. Kira shouted. "So are you. He's probably intimidated. Make the first move. Sometimes you have to. I had to make the first move with Jack." Bridget looked at Kira, a questioning look on her face. "Oh, I mean Mo, but Libby's the only one who calls him Mo." "Well, I guess now you guys, too." Kira rolled her eyes. "Come on, Mel, go talk to him," Olivia said, nudging her friend toward the bar. "If you don't, I'll drag him over here so you have to talk to him," Kira said. She almost felt guilty, forcing her. She remembered how she felt talking to guys when she was only 21. Fine. I'm going." She stormed off, and the girls giggled a little as they watched their friend nervously interact with Tyler. They continued to dance the night away, Olivia thinking how drastically different her life seemed from just 24 hours ago. Every so often, she would find Alexander in deep conversation with an old friend or neighbor, but their eyes would always meet. No matter who he was talking to, he always seemed to keep an eye on her. For once, she was happy about that. She felt truly loved. "Thanks, everyone," Mo said into the microphone after playing for a few hours. "Can I just get your attention, please?" Olivia looked around at the party guests as servers walked through the backyard carrying trays of champagne and distributing them to everyone. Alexander walked up next to her, snaking his arm around her waist. "Miss me, love?" he asked with a twinkle in his eye. "Of course," she responded, planting a gentle kiss on his lips. "How did your mother put this together today? You have no idea how easy it is to do something like this if you're willing to throw money at people." He laughed. "And my darling mother can be very persuasive." "I see that." Alexander grabbed 2 glasses of champagne, handing one to her before they turned their attention back to the stage. "We're all here to celebrate the engagement of my good friend, Olivia Adler, to Alexander Burnham," Mo continued. "I've known Livy since she was a freshman at Boston College, and, to be honest, I never thought I would see this day. Livy's not the easiest person to get along with." Olivia pinched Kira, her face turning red as she listened to the crowd roar with laughter. "He better not think this is a fucking roast," she hissed quietly. "He wouldn't. Don't worry." She gave her a reassuring look. Olivia was always sort of an enigma when she was in college, Mo reminisced. She worked as a bartender at this bar called Scotch, where we all had the pleasure of meeting her. Guys would fawn over her, and she would send them packing with their proverbial tails between their legs, never letting anyone get close to her. But, eventually, she let me and Kira in and, of course, the rest of the band here. Although we may all have had our disagreements in the past, that doesn't mean we love each other any less. Olivia listened to his words and didn't cringe when he said the word love. She finally realized that she had begun to love people again. She loved Kira and Mo, and she loved Alexander more than she thought her heart was capable of. Love no longer scared her. Mo looked over at Olivia as she stood in Alexander's embrace. A smile spread across his face, reaching his dark eyes, and he thought back to all the drama of the past several months. Something changed in Olivia after she met Alex. She lost some of her edge, in a good way. She slowly began to let him into her life, and she finally realized how truly special it is when you find your soulmate. He raised his champagne glass. "I'm so happy for you, baby girl." He faced the audience. To Alexander and Olivia, everyone raised their glasses, toasting the couple. Alexander looked down at Olivia. "Thank you for letting me in." Olivia. His lips met hers, coaxing her mouth open, the taste of champagne making her tongue taste sweet. "I love you, Mr. Burnham," she said, surprised at how easy it was to say those 3 words over and over again. She never wanted to stop telling Alexander how much she loved him. "Looks like you're empty, Phil." Olivia looked down at her glass, noticing that she had finished all her champagne. "Yes, please. You got it. Be back in a second." He kissed her neck before heading across the lawn, surprised to be met with jealous eyes as he approached the bar. "Adele, what are you doing here?" he asked nervously. "Your mother invited my parents. I found out about your little engagement and left Boston to get here to celebrate with you." "Alex, dear," she responded, placing her hand on his arm. He took a step back, cringing from her touch. "Why are you really here?" he demanded. "No reason," she replied rather nonchalantly. "Just wanted to offer my congratulations to you and your bride-to-be." "Well, you've done it, so please leave," Alexander growled, his eyes frantically searching for Olivia, relieved when he felt someone come up next to him. Olivia slinked her arm around his waist and planted a kiss on his cheek before turning her eyes to the tall blonde. "Hello, Adele. What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice sweet. "Just came to offer my congratulations to the happy couple," she replied with a smug expression. "Well, thank you, Adele. That's very kind of you. Olivia faced Alexander. "Excuse me. Darling, nature calls." She retreated toward the house. "If you'd rather I'd left, I understand." "Alex," Adele said once Olivia was out of earshot. "Adele, I appreciate you coming, but there's too much bad blood between you and Olivia, and I'm here to look out for her," he said softly. She shot daggers at him and took a step closer, making up for lost time. "Alex, what are you talking about?" "Adele." His mind raced. "Oh, nothing. Imagine how little Olivia will react when she finds out that you've been keeping secrets from her." He stared at her, the tension building. "I know. Alexander," she spat out, answering the question that was so clearly written on his face. "I know she's your Olivia, and that you've been keeping that secret from her. Do you think you can keep it from her forever?" Alexander looked at her in complete shock. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath. "How did you find out?" he asked quietly. Adele's voice softened. "Alex, I knew she looked familiar. Granted, it's been over 21 years, but the similarities were too much." She lied, placing her hand on his arm, a compassionate look crossing her face. She continued, "Do the right thing before it's too late. I'll keep it to myself for now, but I can't guarantee that I'll remain quiet forever." He hung his head low. "I know, Adele. Just give me some time. She needs to know." She walked away, smiling. She knew him well. He would keep his secret from Olivia as long as he could. He couldn't bear to lose her, and telling her would make her run. Hell, it would make any woman furious to know that they had been lied to. And that's what Adele was counting on. When she received that phone call earlier in the day, she thought the man on the other end was full of shit when he said that the woman Alexander was now engaged to was Olivia DeLuca. But he had just confirmed that it was true and that he was aware of her real identity. Adele had no idea why the man on the other end of the phone was concerned with Olivia's true identity, and she didn't really care. As long as she got her money once Olivia found out about her past, she was fine with whatever was going on. Chapter 4, starting now. "Do you ever think you'll move all your things into my place?" Alexander asked one warm evening in early May as they enjoyed a relaxing dinner out on his balcony. Since their engagement party several weeks ago, Olivia and Alexander attempted to adjust to the change in their relationship. There were quite a few arguments. Both had been so fiercely independent for the majority of their adult lives that it took time to acclimate to their new living arrangement. An arrangement Olivia was still having trouble with. "Alexander, we've already discussed this. Every day. It's just taking me some time to adjust." She looked down at her plate, slowly losing her appetite. "I know, love, and I'm trying to be patient. I know this isn't easy for you, but we've been engaged for over a month and you've refused to agree on a date or move the rest of your stuff over here. What's really going on?" He looked into her eyes, a soft expression on his face. "Are you having second thoughts?" "No," she said forcefully. "Of course not." She lowered her voice. "I love you, Alexander, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." "Damn it. Olivia, then why don't we start the rest of our lives now? Please." He stood up and walked the short distance to the other side of the table, kneeling in front of her and grabbing her hands. "I want to wake up to your beautiful smile every morning. I want to feel your body next to me as I fall asleep every night. I want to finally experience all those little quirks of yours, the way you take one last look in the mirror when you're getting ready. You simply sigh and shrug your shoulders, and it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I want to see that every single day for the rest of my life. Olivia, I know you like your space and that you've been on your own nearly your entire life. I know this is going to take some adjusting on both our parts, but we'll work through those things together." Olivia looked down at the man kneeling in front of her, a sincere expression etched on his strong face. At that moment, he looked so vulnerable, and she immediately felt guilty for making him doubt her devotion to him. "Fine." Her lips turned into a crooked smile. "But where am I going to fit all of my shoes?" Alexander laughed, pulling her into his arms. "I'll have a closet built just for your shoes. Love, she giggled, butterflies swimming around her stomach. After all this time, she was surprised that he could still give her those butterflies. She recalled her mama's words when she was just a small child, telling her that she'd know when she was in love by the constant butterflies. That's how she knew he was the only man for her. I love you so much, Alexander. She planted a soft kiss on his lips. I will never tire of hearing you say that, he remarked before standing up and returning to his seat to finish his meal. About a date. Olivia took a sip of her Chardonnay, nervous to be discussing plans for her upcoming wedding. Yes, have you given any thought to what I suggested, he asked. Actually, I have, and, well, I just want to make sure that this is something you want to do. Get married then. I mean, of course it is. I wouldn't have suggested it if I wasn't serious about it, he said firmly. It's just… She trailed off, looking down at her fingers fidgeting in her lap. I know how difficult that day is for you, and I want to make sure that you only have happy memories of our wedding day. Olivia, look at me. His voice was forceful and demanding. She quickly raised her head to see Alexander smiling at her. Darling, that's exactly why I want to do this. I didn't realize it, but my life didn't truly begin until I met you. Marrying you on that day will erase any bad memories from early on. I need to close this chapter in my life and start a new one. He reached across the table and grabbed her hand. With you. His words sent Olivia's heart soaring. She loved how passionate he could be at times. She still couldn't believe how far they had come from their first meeting when he whispered in her ear. People only call me Mr. Burnham in the bedroom. So what do you think, he asked, interrupting her thoughts of Alexander in the bedroom. Okay, August 24th it is then. She smiled. Up until that moment, it hadn't sunk in that she was going to marry Alexander. Now, with a date, it all began to feel real, and she couldn't be happier. Good. He thought it was fitting, marrying the girl who was taken from him on the exact date 22 years later. It was romantic. That's less than 4 months away, Olivia said, staring out over the boats on the waterfront as a gentle breeze blew. I guess I better find a dress. She dreaded the thought of going to bridal shops with the hopes of finding the perfect wedding dress. She immediately considered asking Alexander to elope. You could show up naked and I wouldn't care. He raised his eyebrows and gave her a devilish grin. Of course you wouldn't, she giggled. God, Angel, all these months and I still love the sound of your laughter, he said, making her blush. Now, where would you like to get married? Any idea? At a casino in Vegas, she muttered under her breath, looking toward the sliding glass door. She laughed at the sight of runners standing there, begging for table scraps from the other side of the glass. Alexander grabbed her hand across the table again, getting her attention. Olivia, if that's what you want, I'll support it. I just want to marry you. I don't care if it's in a crappy Vegas casino or an ornate cathedral. All I care about is you saying those 2 words to me. I do, Olivia asked, smirking. Alexander rushed to the opposite side of the table and swooped her in his arms. No, Olivia, he said quietly, kissing her neck. I will. Always. I will. Olivia's heart raced at his gentle voice whispering those 2 words in her ear. Alex. She exhaled as he ran his tongue down her collarbone. Don't start anything you have no intention of finishing. She felt Alexander's mouth turn up into a smile. When have you ever not finished? I can think of a few times that some dominating prick wouldn't let me come, she joked. He pulled back and stood up, planting a chaste kiss on her cheek. Sometimes. Miss Adler, delayed gratification is worth it. He turned and walked back to his seat. She closed her eyes, trying to regain her composure. So, tell me, where would you like to get married, he asked, his voice serious once more. Well, I've always imagined getting married on the beach somewhere, she responded, opening her eyes, trying to ignore the desire flooding through her entire body. I'd like to keep it casual. You know, Alexander thought about her words. He immediately recalled the beach house where he spent nearly every summer with her all those years ago. It was a massive estate with its own stretch of private beach. After finding the storage room beneath his office containing all the documents pertaining to his father's cover-up, he found that Olivia still owned that property, although she did not know it. The beach house had been maintained beautifully over the years, ready to be handed over to her when it was safe to do so. I think I have the perfect place. Chapter 5. Solitude. The following day, Olivia woke up early, pried herself from Alexander's arms, and quickly changed into her running clothes before descending 25 stories to the lobby. "Miss Adler," Carter said, intercepting her on the street as she exited the tall building. She looked up and saw Carter standing next to Marshall outside of the SUV parked in its usual spot. "Where to this morning?" he asked, scanning the sidewalks. "I'm just going for a run and then back to my place. I'll be fine by myself." She began to walk away. "Miss Adler, please wait for a moment," Marshall called out nervously. Olivia exhaled loudly before turning around, her irritation evident by the scowl on her face. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but Mr. Burnham is our boss." Carter surveyed her demeanor, debating how to proceed. "Fine. Go ahead and call him to tell on me. All I want is one fucking day where I can go for a run by myself. Is that too much to ask for?" She huffed as she plopped down on a bench, glaring at her protection detail. Is this what her life would be like once she married Alexander? Would he always have one of his agents following her, protecting her from some invisible threat that he made up in his head? All because he lost his best friend when he was young. Agent Marshall stared at her, an appearance of sympathy about her. "Just one moment, ma'am. I'll see if I can convince him that you'll be okay on your own." Olivia glanced up, a smile creeping across her face. "Thank you." Alexander woke up to his cell phone ringing. Opening his eyes, he noticed that Olivia wasn't in bed next to him. He became alarmed when he saw the name flash on his caller ID. "Marshall? Is everything okay?" he asked frantically. "Yes. Sorry to disturb you, sir. Miss Adler is out in front of the building and wants to go for a run." "Well, what's the problem? Send someone with her." She exhaled loudly before lowering her voice, and walked out of Olivia's earshot, still keeping her eyes trained on her. "Sir, with all due respect, she feels smothered. Let her have this one run unaccompanied. It might make her feel better." What Alexander shouted, jumping out of bed. "Are you out of your fucking mind?" "Sir, please. We've been keeping an eye on her the past several months and haven't come across any threats to her safety." "Of course you haven't." He fumed. "That's because you've been around her. Once there's a window, someone will take the opportunity." He found a pair of shorts and quickly threw them on before grabbing a running shirt, socks, and a pair of sneakers, dashing down the stairs and into the foyer, anxiously pressing the elevator call button as he dressed himself. "I'm not second-guessing your decisions, sir," she continued calmly. "But perhaps if you clue me and Carter in so that we're aware of the threat you seem to think exists, maybe we could have a better understanding of what's going on." The elevator dinged, announcing its arrival. Alexander lowered his voice. "I can't do that. I wish I could. But the less anyone knows about this, the better. I trust you. You're one of my most valuable agents. That's why I assigned you this job." "You're going to lose her for good if you don't give her some breathing room," Marshall explained cautiously. Alexander stepped back and the elevator doors closed, letting it leave without him. He stared at the wall in front of him and contemplated Marshall's words. He knew she was right and that he was smothering Olivia. Perhaps one run unaccompanied would go a long way. "Okay, let her go for a run." He sighed in resignation. "But keep an eye on her from a safe distance," he warned. "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." She glanced at Olivia, giving her a thumbs-up sign. "And, Marshall." "Yes, sir. I want constant updates. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir. I can do that." She hung up and walked back toward Olivia. "Okay. Off you go. Don't make me regret sticking my neck out for you. Be safe." Carter walked over to the SUV idling on the side of the street and opened the passenger side door, grabbing something out of the glove box. Turning back to Olivia, he handed her a small can of pepper spray. "Take this with you." "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you," Olivia squealed, wrapping her arms around Carter's neck and planting a quick kiss on his cheek. "You guys are the best." She put the pepper spray in her pocket before heading off on her run. Miss Adler, Carter interrupted. Olivia turned around, removing her earbuds. Yes, keep that in your hand. If you're attacked, you won't have time to reach into your pocket. Sometimes 1 second can be the difference between life and death. She glared at him, her irritation returning. Or, I can call Mr. Burnham back and have him accompany you. Marshall threatened. Fine, she spat out, dramatically grabbing the can of pepper spray out of her pocket. Happy now. Very. Enjoy your run, Marshall said, grabbing her cell phone and searching her contact list. She watched as Olivia ran off down the streets of Boston. Excuse me for a moment. I need to return a phone call. You got it, Cheryl. Simon was sitting at the counter of a diner, drinking a cup of coffee early on a Sunday morning when his cell phone began to ring. Hello, it's me, Simon. She's out for a run. You know what to do. I was able to give you a wide berth, so don't fuck it up. I'll text you the location. Okay, I got it. He hung up and glanced at a text that had just come in. It appeared as though Olivia was heading toward Boston Common Park. Perfect. He threw some money on the counter and ran out of the diner, hailing a cab. Olivia turned onto Tremont Street, crossing over to Boston Common Park past the old granary burying ground, enjoying her momentary solitude. She would finally be able to stretch her legs a bit and really push her pace. It was always difficult running through city streets, having to stop every few seconds at another crosswalk. She entered the park and opened up her stride, basking in the morning sun. She had finally gotten her legs back after running in the Boston Marathon. The week following the marathon had been a tense and scary time in the city. Olivia was one of the lucky ones who had crossed the finish line before the bombs ruined the event for thousands. She had just returned to Alexander's place when she turned on the news to see what had happened at the finish line. Her heart sank, wondering why someone would possibly do something so hateful at an event that inspired millions. It still broke her heart to think about it. But what those cowards didn't count on was the spirit of runners in the city of Boston. She had a new drive to run, desperate to continue on for all those who no longer could. That's what she thought about as she made her way through Boston Common. Every time her legs started to feel tired, she reminded herself that at least she still had the ability to run. She still had legs. Dozens of people who were injured on that tragic day would do anything to be in her position right now, so she ran on. Running past the swan boats, a wide smile crawled across her face as she thought about the day she bumped into Alexander at that very spot. She came to a stop and gazed out over the crystal lake, replaying that fateful day in her mind. Olivia, is that you? A voice called out from across the path. She turned, her brows furrowed. Simon. She took a few steps toward him. Wow, I hate to say it, but it looks like prison was good to you, she remarked, taking in his appearance. He looked like an entirely different person. He was skinnier, but more built than he was before. His usual attire of dirty jeans, t-shirt, and work boots was replaced with a crisp white polo shirt, dress khakis, and loafers. His hair was much shorter, and he was clean-shaven. For the first time in his life, he looked like someone you would be proud to take home to meet your parents. Yeah, about that, he said softly, turning his eyes down, a shy look covering his face. I've been wanting to talk to you, but I didn't know how you would react to seeing me again. And, well, I understand if you want to walk away right now, but I'd really appreciate it if you would listen to what I have to say. Olivia met his eyes, a look of sincerity on his face, but there was something else there, too, a troubled look. He appeared as if he was in pain, and Olivia's heart went out to him. She walked over to a bench and sat down, motioning for him to do the same. Okay, I'll listen. Simon. It seemed as though Simon had turned over a new leaf, and the least she could do was hear him out. Plus, she had the pepper spray that Carter had given her clutched in her hand so she didn't feel threatened. I just wanted to apologize for my behavior all those months ago. He started, his eyes trained straight ahead on the swan boats. I never wanted to hurt you. Olivia. He faced her, beseeching her to believe the words that he spoke. I don't know what came over me, and I regret agreeing to help those people." "Wait," Olivia interrupted. "What are you talking about?" "Simon." She scrunched her eyebrows, confused at what was coming out of his mouth. "What people? I don't know all the details, but this guy paid me the equivalent of 2 years' salary to get close to you and see if you remembered something from your childhood," he explained, almost avoiding her eyes. Olivia sat there in shock. "I know it was stupid now," he continued when she remained silent. "You have to believe I would never do anything to hurt you again." He lifted his head, meeting her eyes once more. "I had a lot of time in prison to reflect on my behavior, and I want to be honest with you. Olivia." He took a deep breath before continuing. "You're in danger." His voice was firm as he warned her. "I don't know what these people want. Hell, I don't even know who's behind any of it. Some guy bailed me out of jail and paid for my attorney, but I have no idea what his connection is to this whole mess. All I know is that they think that your dad. My dad died years ago." "Simon," she interrupted, dropping her voice to barely a whisper. "Both of my parents did." She turned her head, not wanting to talk about losing her family at such a young age. She fought back the tears as a gentle breeze rustled through the trees, making her shiver despite the warm spring air. "I know. This guy said that they died in an accident. But was it really an accident?" Olivia's mind began to race, recalling her dreams. Her head spun around quickly and she glowered at him. "I was in the car." "Simon," she said, swallowing hard. "I survived. I relive that day in my dreams every night of my fucking existence. Yes, it really was an accident." He noticed her reaction and proceeded with caution. "I'm sorry. Olivia, I'm not trying to upset you. The last thing I want to do is hurt you. I just want you to be safe." She stared at him, her eyes intense. Why was Simon being so nice to her now? It didn't make any sense. Then again, maybe he was able to gain some clarity and insight into his life while he was in prison. "I heard you're engaged to Alexander Burnham," Simon said quietly, hoping she would keep talking to him if he changed the subject. She avoided his eyes, blushing. "I am good. He's a good man. Olivia, he can protect you. Why are you telling me all of this, Simon?" She tilted her head and eyed him suspiciously. "What's your goal here? What do you hope to get out of it?" He exhaled loudly, running his hands through his hair, exasperated. It reminded her of Alexander. "I don't know," he said quietly. "I just want to make amends for my past behavior, and maybe telling you what I know will mean the difference between life and death. These people are very dangerous, so please be careful. I guess that's what I wanted to say. And that I'm sorry." His eyes met hers. "I'm scared for you." He got up and began to walk away. Olivia watched as he strolled along the path, dodging other runners out for their morning exercise. Could she trust him? He knew so much. "Simon." "Wait," she shouted, running to catch up to him. A grin crept across his face. He paused and readjusted his expression into a solemn look before turning around. "Yes, Olivia. I just wanted to say," her voice trailed off. "Yes." She took a deep breath. "I forgive you," she said, knowing how difficult it must have been for him to tell her everything. The least she could do was forgive him for what had happened in the past. Maybe it would help him continue to grow. "You scared me back in August, but I'm not going to hold that grudge anymore. I hope you can move on from this, and that my forgiveness gives you some peace. You did the right thing telling me what's going on. I value your honesty." She took his hands in hers, their eyes locking, thankful that one person in her life was finally being truthful with her. "All I ever wanted was to get to know you, Olivia," he said sweetly. "You just made it so damn hard. You kept everyone away, and it nearly broke my heart," he explained, his voice shaking. "I wanted you so badly, but all you were looking for was a fuck buddy. Then when this guy found out that I was sleeping with you, he came to me with a proposition and, well, I wasn't born into money like you were. I've had to struggle my entire life to make ends meet. But in the end, I know it wasn't worth it. I ruined whatever we had going between us. Simon, please, she said, releasing his hands, glancing down at the cobblestone path. I just need to get this off my chest. His unyielding tone made Olivia look back into his eyes. The day I walked into your studio to work on that construction project, I thought you were the most beautiful woman I had ever laid eyes on. And I still believe that to this very day. I'll always be here for you. No matter what you need, I will never hurt you again. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did. That's why I need your forgiveness. I know there's no future for us. And I'm glad that you found someone who makes you happy. I just wish that you had let me in all those months ago. Maybe things would have turned out differently. Simon turned to walk away, leaving Olivia speechless. As soon as he walked onto Charles Street and looked over his shoulder to make sure that she hadn't followed him, he picked up his cell phone. Donovan, it's Simon. I think she bought it. You're a fucking genius. Man. No, I just know people. Chapter 6, Our Place. Olivia circled out of Boston Common Park, her conversation with Simon replaying in her mind for the remainder of her short run. It was unmistakable that he had changed quite a bit since August when he came at her with a knife. He now seemed like an entirely different person. Maybe being in prison gave him some perspective about where his life was headed if he didn't get his act together. The pain on his face when he confessed his feelings for her was heartbreaking, and she felt bad for the way she treated him during their brief relationship. Still, Simon's warning lay heavy on her mind. She always thought that Alexander was simply being overprotective, but maybe he knew something, too. He had mentioned the possibility of Simon having a connection to Mark Kiddish. That must have been the guy who wanted to get to Olivia. Regardless, she was certain that Simon's apology was genuine. He looked desperate and distraught as he begged for forgiveness. She couldn't imagine what he had gone through those past several months sitting in prison, having to live with his stupid mistake. Olivia ran down Commonwealth Avenue, slowing to a stop in front of her house. She looked up at the brownstone that she had grown to love over the years. The 3-story brick building was her first home when she moved back to Boston. It was symbolic to her of finally putting down roots. But now she would put down new roots with Alexander on the other side of the city. They had discussed what she should do with her house. After a few heated arguments, she decided to hold on to the property for a while and perhaps rent it out. The housing market had started to turn back up, but she wasn't ready to part with her home just yet. She punched the code into the door and ran upstairs to start packing her things. She was sweaty from her run, so she hopped in the shower, rinsing off the salt that had settled on her skin. Once she felt refreshed, she put on a change of clothes and set about boxing up her life. After several hours of going through her belongings, she heard her phone buzzing. She glanced at the caller ID and saw Alexander's photo flashing on the screen. Crap. She had forgotten to turn the ringer back on. Hesitantly, she answered his call. Olivia, yes, she breathed. Where are you? He knew perfectly well where she was, but he had no intention of telling her that he had been sitting in his office, tracking her every movement as if he didn't have anything better to do on a Sunday morning. I'm at my house packing up some boxes. Would you like some help? He asked, his voice softening. I can see if I can get some movers to come and take care of that for you. No, that's okay, she responded, glancing around her bedroom at all her belongings, starting to feel overwhelmed by the enormity of the job ahead of her. Some of this stuff is kind of personal. I'd rather do it all myself. Do you want me to come and lend a hand? Or would you rather be alone? She could hear the hurt in his voice. I'm sorry about this morning. Alexander, I just feel a little smothered sometimes. I know you're just trying to keep me safe, and I really do appreciate that, but sometimes it's just a little overwhelming. I know, Olivia, he sighed. If she only knew what he was trying to protect her from. I'm sorry. I don't want to scare you off. You just have to tell me how you feel. I can't read your mind. I promise I'll try to not be as much of an overbearing asshole. Olivia giggled. Okay, I'll try to do better, too. So, want me to come over? His voice was brimming with hope. It would be a shame to waste this opportunity to put you to work. He chuckled. Okay, I'll be there in a bit. Carter and Marshall are out front of your house should you need anything in the meantime. You knew where I was, didn't you? You'll have to torture me if you want me to answer that. There was a pause. Until then, I love you. Always. His words made her want to melt into the hardwood flooring. I love you too, Alexander, she replied before hanging up. Olivia returned her attention to the task at hand and began sorting through the bookshelf in her study, boxing up books and other trinkets. Occasionally, she stopped to look at various photos from her college years, memories flooding back from all the trouble she and Kira used to cause. She paused when an old photo album fell off the middle shelf, pictures scattering across the room. Chasing one of the photos all the way to the doorway, she was met with a jean-clad leg. Her eyes followed the leg upward, meeting Alexander's brilliant smile. Afternoon? Beautiful. I brought sushi. Olivia straightened up and kissed him gently on the lips. Thank God. I'm starving and there's no food in this joint except for cat food. She leaned down to pick up the photo that had escaped. Her breath caught in her throat and she spun around to hide her face from Alexander. What is it? Are you okay? She stared at the image in front of her. It was one of the few photos she had from before the accident. She was standing on a bunch of rocks on a large beach, her father behind her, holding her up beneath her arms. They were both smiling at the camera. Her hair was in 2 braids on either side of her head, and she was wearing a long Harvard sweatshirt over her bathing suit. She caressed the photo, her finger lingering over her father's face. Alexander walked up behind Olivia and peered over her shoulder. Is that your father? He asked. Yes, she replied quietly. It looks like he loved you very much. A tear fell down Olivia's face. I think he did. I just wish I could have remembered more about him. You know. I get it. He wrapped his arms around her shoulders, bringing her back flush with his body. Guilt overwhelmed his conscience for keeping so many secrets from her, especially for not telling her that her father was still alive. He could end her pain right now if he just told her everything. He wanted to, but her father's warning sounded in his head, reminding him that he could lose the woman he loved if she remembered her past. We should probably go eat before Nepenthe gets into the sushi, she said, wiping the tears that had fallen down her face. He's got a thing for raw fish. Alexander released her, kissing her on the cheek. Well, let's go eat then. After finishing all the sushi Alexander had brought over and downing a few beers, they drudged back up the stairs to continue packing her belongings, deciding to start in the bedroom. I'm going to miss this room most of all, Alexander said after over an hour of boxing up Olivia's shoes, barely even putting a dent in her enormous collection of footwear. She looked up from the dresser. Oh, yeah. Any particular reason for that? She asked, her eyebrows raised. He stood up and strode across the room toward her, pulling her to her feet and pressing her body into his. If I remember correctly, Miss Adler, you gave me the most amazing, earth-shattering blowjob in that bed, he commented. His words sent a warmth through her body, her heart racing. The first of many incredible blowjobs, I might add. He pulled back, winking. Perhaps one more for the road, Mr. Burnham, Olivia asked, brushing her lips against his neck, planting soft kisses across his collarbone. She slowly lowered herself, running her hand down his chest before kneeling in front of him and unbuckling his belt. Olivia. Alexander exhaled, staring down at her. You drive me crazy. Do you know that? She nodded her head slowly as she unbuttoned his jeans, sliding them down his muscular legs, his erections springing free. Even after months of being intimate with Alexander, she still got incredibly excited every time she saw him. Grabbing onto his arousal, she took him into her mouth and sensually dragged her tongue across his length. He closed his eyes for a moment, enjoying the sensation of Olivia's tongue on the most intimate part of his body. He immediately hardened even more in her mouth. She moaned, loving that she turned him on like that. Continuing her slow motion, she looked up at him, his eyes now open and trained on her. Her heart stopped when she saw the primal stare he gave her. It made her burn for him even more. She was completely unable to break her gaze from his. That's right, baby. I love it when you look at me with my cock in your mouth. She moaned again, not breaking eye contact with him because that's what he liked. That's what made him happy, and for the first time in her life, she was with someone who she wanted to make happy. Alexander reached down, gently placing his hand on her head, helping to guide her motions as she continued torturing him with her mouth and tongue. Nothing turned him on more than looking down at Olivia, her eyes wide as she took him into her mouth. "Faster, Olivia," he said softly. "I'm close, baby," slowly exhaling. He closed his eyes and tried to fight against his impending orgasm. He wanted it to last longer, but he knew that nothing was going to stop him from exploding in a matter of seconds. "Damn, you give amazing head," he thrust into her mouth, signaling with his body the rhythm he wanted Olivia to maintain. She picked up the pace in response, meeting his motion, gently licking and sucking as she continued to drive him crazy. She loved that she could make him fall apart so quickly from such a simple act. She felt him tighten his grasp on her head and knew he was about to release. She slowly bared her teeth, pushing him to his breaking point, and he came in her mouth, shouting her name. She slid her tongue against his length until the aftershocks of his orgasm subsided. Meeting his eyes, she smiled, a feeling of complete satisfaction enveloping her. A year ago, she would never do that for anyone. Now, she loved pleasing him that way, and she didn't even want anything in return. "Damn, Olivia, I love your lips," he said, helping her to her feet. She giggled at his compliment, sending Alexander's heart soaring. Placing a hand on the small of her back, he carefully dipped her back, kissing her full on the mouth, his tongue invading where his erection had been seconds beforehand. "That's the most beautiful sound in the world," he murmured against her neck. "Now, back to packing." She yelped when he smacked her ass, causing an infectious grin to spread across her face. They spent the remainder of the afternoon going through her things while she decided what she wanted to keep and what she would donate or throw out. By early evening, they had boxed up most of her bedroom and study. "Moving is more of a pain in the ass than I remember," Olivia joked. "Let me hire some movers to deal with the rest of it. I get not wanting people sorting through your personal stuff, but I think we tackled most of that already." Olivia looked around the kitchen, not thrilled with the idea of having to pack up the cabinets. "That's fine, but what are we going to do about all my furniture? You already have everything we need." "Well, is there anything you can't live without? Anything you like better than what I have?" She surveyed her living room. "I'll have to think about it. Maybe I'll just keep the rest of the house like it is and rent it out fully furnished or something, instead of bringing it all over to your place." "Great, and stop calling it my place. It's our place." Olivia smiled, snuggling against his chest. "I like the sound of that." Alexander kissed the top of her head. "I do too, love." Chapter 7, Planning. Over the course of the following week, movers transported all of Olivia's personal belongings from her house over to her new home, while Alexander was out of town on a training exercise with a group of his latest mercenaries in training, as Olivia liked to call them. After returning from her appointment with Dr. Greenstein on Thursday, she decided to open a bottle of wine and enjoy a glass out on the enormous balcony overlooking the waterfront. The sun was shining, and there were only a few clouds in the sky as a light breeze blew through the city. It was the type of day Olivia loved. Normally, she would go for a walk through the city, take her e-reader, and read in the park. But lately, after Simon's warning, she took Alexander's security detail a little bit more seriously. Before bumping into Simon, she thought Alexander was overreacting. Now, she knew he had every reason to overreact. Someone wanted to hurt her. Simon inferred that the accident that had taken her parents from her was not an accident at all. If that was the case, maybe she was supposed to die in the crash, too. She wondered why anyone could possibly think that she was worth hurting, or worse. Her phone rang as she sat on the balcony thinking about Simon and what it could all mean. She smiled when she saw Kira's face pop up on her screen. "Libby, God, I have spring fever something fierce today," her friend said before Olivia even had a chance to say hello. "Yeah, it's beautiful out, isn't it?" She took a sip of her wine. "You got that right. Are you heading to the gym this afternoon?" "No. I got up early this morning and went before going to see my therapist. I knew it would be a nice day and I'd hate to waste the afternoon sweating inside the gym. What are you up to? Not much. Just relaxing on the lanai, drinking a glass of wine, enjoying the view from my castle in the sky. Olivia responded somewhat jokingly. She had a good life. Well, my afternoon meeting was canceled. I was thinking of ditching work early. Great. Why don't you come over here? I could use some girl time. It's been too long, and we have to start planning your wedding. Yeah, there's that pesky detail, too. Isn't there? Olivia didn't even know where to begin when it came to organizing the wedding. It was still rather overwhelming. Unlike so many other girls, she never saw herself as the type to actually get married, and she was at a loss of what to do. Thankfully, she had Kira. Okay, I'll be there in 20. Sounds good, Olivia responded. I'll call down to the concierge and alert them that I'm expecting you. Aren't you all Miss High and Mighty? Kira huffed. You know it. My minions prefer to screen my visitors for potential security threats. It's tough to be the queen. Her voice was heavy with sarcasm. Yeah, be there soon. Love you, bitch. Love you too. Olivia opened the sliding glass door and stepped back into her new home, making her way to the enormous wine cellar just beyond the kitchen. She scanned the aisles of Alexander's impressive collection for a good, crisp white wine. Her eyes settled on a nice Sancerre, and she grabbed it before heading back to the kitchen, searching the refrigerator for some snacks. She grabbed a block of brie and Gouda and set about preparing a cheese and fruit plate for her visitor. There was something about Alexander's museum-like home that made her feel as though she should actually attempt to entertain Kira as she would a guest. She hadn't been to his place yet, so she was eager to show her friend around. A short while later, she heard the buzzer sound. Sliding back the door, Kira stood in the foyer with her mouth agape. Holy shit, this place is incredible. Libs, she said in awe. I know. For a straight guy, he has fantastic style. Kira nodded in response. Olivia was surprised that her friend was completely speechless. Kira was never one to have nothing to say. Let's go enjoy this weather, Olivia said, grabbing Kira's hand and leading her through the open floor plan of the penthouse's main level. I'll give you a tour later. She led her toward the windows, sliding back the glass door that opened to the balcony. This view is amazing. Kira looked out over all the boats below on the glistening water. I would never leave. Well, I probably would when it snows. Thank you. Olivia sat down at the bistro table and gestured at the cheese and wine she had set out earlier. Help yourself. Aren't you the best little host? She took a seat opposite Olivia, grabbed the bottle, and poured herself a glass. So, you've set a date then? Olivia grinned, her heart racing at the thought of marrying Alexander in just a few short months. Yes, August 24th. Kira's eyes grew wide. Really, even though it's the same day as... She trailed off, gauging Olivia's reaction. I'm okay with it, she said, giving Kira a convincing look. It actually never even crossed my mind that it would be the same day that my parents died. I guess being with Alexander is more important than dwelling on something that I can't change. Okay then. That doesn't really give us a lot of time. I'll call around and see what we can do about getting you an appointment to go look at some dresses. Olivia flushed, not realizing how little time she actually had. Her excitement quickly turned to nerves when she was met with the reality that she had absolutely no clue where to begin with wedding plans. Any idea what kind of dress you're looking for? Kira grabbed a cracker and sliced a piece of brie. Not really, I haven't even looked. Kira reached down and grabbed her commuter bag, unzipping it. Well, it's a good thing I'm your friend. Here. She shoved several large bridal magazines at her. Just start looking through these so you can get an idea of what you may want. The good thing is, between the two of you, you have more money than sense, so you'll be able to get whatever you want, whenever you want. Olivia took a drink from her glass of wine, starting to feel like she was about to break out in hives from discussing her future wedding. Have you gone over any details with Alex? Kira asked. All business? Not really. I think we're going to do it on the beach, Cape Cod. Kinky, she said with a smile on her face. Olivia picked up a cracker and chucked it at her friend. His company owns this huge beach house with a massive private beach. I love the idea of a beach wedding. It's very you. Kira grabbed a legal pad out of her bag and started to take notes. We're going to try to keep it small. Though, I know it will be hard. He has a huge extended family, but I don't know, she lamented. I have no family, and I think he feels bad that the majority of the guests will be there for him and not for me. Olivia looked down, thinking about how difficult that day would be for her with no family there to watch her marry the love of her life. Hey! Kira reached out and grabbed her friend's hand. It doesn't matter how many people you have there supporting you. That's the problem with weddings. People feel like they need to put on a big show. Most people only go to weddings for the free booze and couldn't give a shit about celebrating the actual day. So fuck 'em. Do what you want and what makes you happy. Olivia met Kira's gaze and gave her a grateful smile. Thanks, Care Bear. She loved her friend's perspective. Okay, back to important shit, she said, releasing Olivia's hand. Pick a weekend for Vegas. She laughed, relieved to be discussing a lighter topic. The friends spent the next several hours enjoying the weather and each other's company, as well as a few bottles of wine. As the sun began to go down, a chill set in and the girls retreated indoors. Shit, Olivia said upon noticing the time. I should probably call Alexander before he freaks out. Yeah, you're probably right. Jack's expecting me, as well. Olivia raised her eyebrows. Yep, that's right, Libby. Kira's getting laid tonight. Jesus, Kira, she responded, her face turning bright red. I don't want to hear the details about you and Mo. Kira laughed. Okay, Libs. Thanks for the fun afternoon. Dress shopping this Saturday. Olivia hugged her friend and said goodbye. When she was all alone, she grabbed her cell phone and walked up to the bedroom, eager to hear Alexander's voice. She hated when he had to leave town for work. Burnham here! He barked angrily into the phone, picking up on the third ring. Hi, it's me, she said quietly. Olivia, Angel? His voice relaxed. How are you? Good. Everything okay? Yes. As good as it can be. I miss you terribly. I miss you too. How much longer will you be gone? Alexander exhaled loudly. It's hard to say. This mission isn't going as well as I had hoped. I wanted to be home by tomorrow to see you sing with the band, but at this rate, it will probably be after the weekend before I can get back. Oh, Olivia replied, clearly disappointed. I'm so sorry, love, but I have to make sure these guys are properly trained. It's okay. Alexander, I understand. I just miss you. She sat on the bed, lying down. I don't like being apart from you. I don't like it. Either. I miss falling asleep next to you, listening to your gentle breathing. I miss the feel of your skin on mine, she moaned, thinking about his body moving on top of her. I miss the taste of your sweet pussy. He breathed out, his voice turning husky. Fuck, Alex, she said quietly. I need you here, inside me. Touch yourself, he ordered. She obeyed, slipping her hand into her panties. Are you wet for me, Olivia? I'm always wet when I'm thinking about you, she replied coyly. He groaned. Tease your clit for me. Gently. She followed his instructions, her breathing becoming heavy with longing. Alexander was over 1,000 miles away, but he still had her bundled up in knots, the desire for him building with every stroke. How's that feel, Olivia? Good, she whimpered, feeling overwhelmed with sensation as she fondled herself, listening to Alexander's sultry voice over the phone. Good. Now I want you to put 2 fingers inside, slowly. She bit her bottom lip as she complied with his request, the pleasure starting to overtake her body. Now, picture me on top of you. Olivia, picture me fucking you senseless. Are you doing that? God, yes, Alex, I need you. Pretend I'm there, slamming into you, feeling that delicious little pussy. He growled into the phone, his breathing heavy, sliding in and out as I bite your perfect nipples. You like it when I do that, don't you? Olivia moaned, thinking about his teeth on her breast, loving when he was gentle and rough with her at the same time. Her heart rate increased and she felt that familiar tingling feeling from her stomach down to her toes. Alexander must have sensed it as well. Come for me, Olivia. Give me your pleasure. She rubbed harder, screaming Alexander's name as she felt herself spasm around her fingers, her orgasm ravaging her body for several long moments. Her breathing began to slow down, neither person saying anything for a while. Did you enjoy that? Love Alexander asked, finally breaking the silence. She giggled. I would have enjoyed it better if it was your hand, but I guess beggars can't be choosers. I'll let you beg when I get back, he replied. She could almost hear the smile on his face. Till then, I love you. I love you too. Hey, Olivia.
Yes.
Thank you. Olivia scrunched her eyebrows. For what? For letting me love you. For letting me in. For letting me beneath your skin. Your beautiful, perfect skin. Olivia's heart swelled at his words. She loved how 1 minute he could be telling her how much he loved fucking her, and then the next, he could say the most sweet and sentimental things. Thanks for not giving up on me, Alexander. Olivia, I'll never give up on you. No matter what this life throws at us, no matter what obstacles we face, I will always stand by your side, looking out for you, protecting you. I love you. I'll hurry home. I love you too. Alexander, she replied quietly, a lump forming in her throat from his sweet words. Placing the phone on the nightstand, she curled up on the bed, feeling completely satisfied, not from the orgasm she just gave herself, but from Alexander's loving words. Chapter 8. Fix or Ruin. Olivia sat in her office Friday afternoon, thinking about Alexander. She longed for his arms to be wrapped around her, for his body to be next to hers as she drifted off to sleep. Instead, she woke up that morning in an empty and cold bed. She was rather disappointed that he would be unable to make her gig that night, but understood he had obligations and couldn't be expected to blow off his job just to see her sing with a band in a bar. She began to think about how much her life had changed since she met him. Just a year ago, she would shudder at the thought of having an actual relationship with anyone, and now she was planning a wedding. Maybe Alexander was exactly what she needed in her life. She still worried about losing him, but she no longer let that fear control her. As she gazed out her window at the city streets below, her brain rewound to the phone conversation she had with Alexander the previous night, a smile creeping across her face. Her body warmed when she recalled his sweet words, amazed at how his sensual tone could send her over the edge so quickly. She was so engrossed in her daydreaming that she had lost track of the time. Shit, she exclaimed when she looked at the clock, finally snapping out of her thoughts, realizing that she was late for a circuit training class she was supposed to teach. Crap. Crap. Crap, she muttered under her breath as she ran down the hall and into the studio. Sorry I'm late, y'all. She smiled at her waiting class, making her way over to the sound system. Okay, let's get to work. She returned to the center of the room once the music began blaring. Warm-up time. Let's start with some arm crosses. She exhaled deeply as she began to lead her class, clearing her mind of everything as best she could, everything except for Alexander Burnham. Over the next half hour, she worked her class pretty hard, leading them through 3 circuits. As she began the last exercise in the 3rd circuit, she heard the door to the studio open and close. She ignored it and focused on finishing her class. Just 5 more. Guys, almost there. Do not quit on me. The class began to groan as she pushed on through bicycle crunches, doing them alongside everyone. Last one, and done. She laughed when she heard sighs of relief from all around her. Great job. Now let's cool down. Everyone go to sitting position. She sat up and pulled her legs wide, looking up. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw Alexander standing in the back of her studio, wearing an olive green t-shirt with camouflage cargo pants and boots. She blushed, having trouble concealing her smile and excitement. He looked hot. She had never seen him in his fatigues before, and she was so incredibly turned on. She finally snapped back to the present when she realized she had her class in the same stretch position for far too long, hiding her distraction. She finished leading her students through their cool-down stretch rather quickly. Thanks, guys. Keep it up. She dismissed her class and grabbed a towel, dabbing the sweat off her body. She felt rather exposed, wearing only her sports bra and a pair of gym shorts. She silently wished that she had grabbed a t-shirt to throw on. Olivia, love, I've missed you. Alexander pulled her into his arms. She tried to push him away. Stop, I stink. I'm all hot and sweaty. I like it when you're hot and sweaty. He leaned down, kissing her neck. She stopped trying to fight him and relaxed in his arms, breathing in the heavenly aroma she had missed the past few days. You smell delicious, like rugged man. Their eyes met. I like this look on you. It's fucking hot. Come, let's get you all cleaned up. Alexander grabbed her hand, leading her out of the studio and into her office. Do you have any more classes to teach today? He asked, walking over to her refrigerator and grabbing a water bottle. He loosened the cap and handed it to her. She sat down at her desk and glanced at her daily schedule. Nope, free and clear for the rest of the day. We have a lot of new staff, so, thankfully, I'm not needed as much. I have a wedding to plan after all. She winked, taking a sip from the bottle. Alexander stared down at her, his eyes hooded. You're back sooner than expected, she said, breaking the growing tension in the room. His proximity still overwhelmed her on occasion, her heart racing with the look he was giving her, almost like an animal stalking his prey that anxiously wanted to be caught. Not that I mind. I'm thrilled, but when we spoke last night, it sounded like you wouldn't be home for a while, she rambled. Yes. He softened his gaze slightly. The training exercise is still going on right now, but I'd hate for you to think that I don't value our time together. I will not be one of those husbands that puts their work ahead of their wives. You have a gig tonight, so I came home. I do need to fly back out tomorrow morning, though. Olivia shot out of her chair and rushed through her office, packing up all of her things. What are you doing? His voice had a hint of amusement in it. I want you to take me home. Alex, I haven't felt your body on mine since Sunday. I need to feel you inside me before I have to meet the girls at McFadden's. A sly grin spread across his face as he watched her bend over and kneel on the floor to unplug her laptop charger. She glanced over her shoulder, feeling his eyes surveying her body. See something you like? She smirked, their eyes meeting. His smile grew wider and he nodded slowly. Good. She quickly raised herself off the ground and placed her things in her commuter bag. Alexander took the bag from her and practically ran down the hallway and out of the wellness center, dragging Olivia behind him. He punched the elevator call button repeatedly, praying for the car to arrive as soon as humanly possible. He pulled her body against his, her back to his front. Do you feel me? He brushed her hair to the side, exposing her neck. He traced his tongue across her smooth skin, even after a workout. You smell amazing. Love. The sensation of Alexander's mouth on her skin, after being absent for so long, made Olivia's body tingle with anticipation. Alex, she exhaled breathlessly. Yes, Olivia. He gently nibbled on her earlobe. Take me to your office. She felt a smile creep across his face as he leaned forward and pressed the up elevator call button. And what do you want to do there? He asked coyly, as his hands roamed her body. She spun around, her eyes blazing into his. I'm pretty sure you know what I want to do. Alex, she said, leaning in and whispering against his neck. But in case you want to know in greater detail, I want you to fuck me. I want it fast. And I want it hard. She pulled back. His eyes were wide. Are you game? He grabbed her hair, tilting her head back. Olivia, I love your dirty mouth. The elevator finally sounded, announcing its arrival, and they were whisked 9 stories up to Alexander's office. When the doors opened, he grabbed her hand, practically running through the reception area. Mr. Burnham. His secretary jumped, apparently nervous that her boss had unexpectedly shown up. I didn't think you would be here today. Alexander punched his code into the door. Pretend I'm not even here. I won't be long. He snapped just as the door opened, pulling Olivia through a hallway she had become so accustomed to walking down over the past several months. Do you think she knows? Olivia asked. Alexander turned to face her, punching his code into the office door. I think we made it pretty obvious when we ran down the hallway like a couple of horny teenagers. His eyes sparkled with amusement. Olivia blushed as the door buzzed, allowing them access to his office. She rushed to his enormous bathroom and turned on the shower. In the shower, Miss Adler, Alexander asked. Yes, I stink. She began stripping out of her gym clothes. Alexander's breath caught at the sight of Olivia standing naked in front of him. Olivia, he growled, pulling her body into his. I don't care if you just finished teaching your class. I plan on fucking you right now. The shower can wait. Her body came alive with hunger as she watched him lean down and turn off the water. I've been dreaming about the day I could see you sprawled out beneath me on my desk. Now go stand there. Face the windows. Don't you dare turn around. She stared into his deep green eyes, unable to make a sound. Olivia, love, did you hear me? She simply nodded, her mind a daze as she walked out of the bathroom toward his desk, the room bright from the sunlight streaming in. She faced the windows, looking at the bustling city, all those stories below. Her breathing increased as she continued standing there, waiting. The anticipation was killing her. It always did. And he knew that. After what seemed like an eternity, she sensed him behind her. It's about fucking time. Alex, she said, I'm going crazy over here. He wrapped his arm around her stomach and pulled her against his naked body. She gasped at the feel of his erection on her back. Do you feel what you do to me, love? He asked softly. All week, all I could think of was the next time I could be balls deep in that perfect pussy of yours. His hand traveled down her stomach, slowly making its way to her clit. Did you miss my cock as much as I missed your pussy? Olivia, he asked as he slowly began rubbing her. She threw her head back against his chest, moaning with pleasure. Yes, she exhaled. Please, I need to feel you inside me. Alexander. He quickly spun her around to face him. She reached up and ran her fingers through his hair, pulling his face down to hers. I missed you so much. So will you please fuck me already? She breathed into his mouth before pressing her lips against his. He groaned, running his hands all over her body. He tore his lips away from her mouth, panting after the sudden invasion of her sweet tongue. I will never tire of kissing you. Every kiss feels like our first kiss. Do you remember that? She stood up on her tiptoes and planted a gentle kiss on his lips. How could I forget? You pinned me against my door. He brushed his fingers against her lips. She closed her eyes in response, remembering their first kiss. He was right. Every kiss felt the same. Every kiss forced the same reaction from her body. Every kiss ignited sparks deep within. Olivia, he whispered. Yes, she exhaled. I want to watch. She flung her eyes open, not understanding what he was talking about. His hands roamed her body again as he feathered kisses against her soft skin. Last night, Angel, on the phone, I want to watch you touch yourself. She closed her eyes, relishing in the feeling of his hands on her body. Please, love, for me. Her heart melted at his gentle plea. She would do anything for him if it made him happy. Pulling back, she smiled. Okay. Alexander's eyes grew wide in surprise before he crushed his lips to hers once more, moaning into her mouth as he slowly walked her back to the desk, carefully lowering her on top of it. He hovered over her, kissing her neck before exploring the rest of her body with his tongue. Grabbing her hand in his, he slowly moved it down her stomach, spreading her legs as she lay on the dark mahogany. He guided her hand over her clit, rubbing with her, his hand on top of hers, nuzzling against her. He dragged his tongue across her neck. I'm going to remove my hand now. Olivia, he said rather calmly. I'm going to sit in the chair in the corner and watch as you make yourself come. Okay, Olivia moaned, entirely lost in the moment. She never thought she could be so turned on from her hand alone. But the fact that Alexander was watching as she pleasured herself set her body on fire with each stroke. Alexander slowly walked away, sitting down in a chair a few feet away from the desk, never taking his eyes off her. Spread your legs wider. Olivia, he ordered. I want to see how wet you are. She immediately obeyed his command, forcing her legs further apart as she continued toying with her clit. Why did it feel so good? Alex, I don't know how much longer I can do this, she said, her breathing becoming ragged. Does it turn you on that I'm sitting over here watching you, Olivia, he asked. Yes, she answered quickly. Good. Look at me, he said. She opened her eyes and glanced at him over her legs. He was stroking himself. A smile spread across her face. Well, I couldn't let you have all the fun, he explained. Now, don't you dare stop. I want to see you come. Damn it. Alex, Olivia shouted, lying back down on the desk, I just want to feel you inside of me, she exhaled. Stop teasing me like this. I'm not the one teasing. Olivia, you're doing that all by yourself, he replied. And it's the hottest thing I've ever seen in my entire fucking life, so don't you even think about stopping. Olivia moaned as she returned her fingers to her clit. That's my girl, Alexander murmured, watching the woman he loved touch herself as he continued stroking his own erection. He was ready to explode and was trying to hold back, not wanting to come before she did. Standing up, he walked over to the desk and watched as she continued rubbing. Olivia, he said quietly, I'm going to come soon. Are you? She pulled her bottom lip between her teeth, nodding fervently. Yes. She couldn't believe that she was ready to fall apart so quickly from her own fingers. Good. I want you to come, and then I'm going to fuck you. Okay. He ran his hand across her stomach, stopping at her nipple, and squeezed. His words and hands on her body sent her over the top. She screamed out his name as she shuddered from the satisfaction that her own fingers gave her. Alexander grabbed her legs and brought her to the edge of the desk, slamming into her. Olivia moaned out, the orgasm still coursing through her, making her entire body tremble around him. God, love, you feel so fucking good. He thrust into her as he stood against his desk. I'll never get enough of this beautiful pussy of yours. Tell me you like it when I fuck you hard like this. He exhaled, his breathing labored. Yes, Olivia said, her mind a blur. I like it hard like this. Her voice was husky as she spasmed beneath him, her orgasm never seeming to end. Olivia, he moaned out, leaning over the desk and biting her nipple as his orgasm ravaged his own body. She gently caressed his sweat-laden forehead while their breathing slowed. He turned his face to look at her. Can I just say that may have been the hottest thing ever? A boyish grin spread across his face. Olivia grabbed his face and brought it to hers, kissing him full and deep. I missed you, Mr. Burnham. And I missed you, Miss Adler. Now shower time. Libby Melanie shouted from the opposite side of McFadden's when Olivia walked through the door with Alexander several hours later. She ran up to them as they made their way past the bar, hugging Olivia with a mischievous smile plastered on her face. Don't be mad. Olivia raised her eyebrows. What are you talking about? Mel, I kind of told a few friends how friggin' awesome you are, singing and all that, and I invited them to come out tonight. It's okay. I'm used to performing in front of several hundred people. I don't mind. She gave her a reassuring look. Good. I was worried you'd go off the deep end. Don't worry. I'll be good tonight. Early morning tomorrow and all. Are you working? Olivia asked, a confused look on her face. Melanie usually didn't work on the weekends. No. Kira invited me to come dress shopping with you, she exclaimed excitedly. Bridget is coming. Too, I think. Kira figured you'd never ask anyone else to join you. And we all think that having a few different opinions would be beneficial. What's this? Alexander asked. His interest piqued. Olivia turned to face him. Apparently, I'm going shopping for a wedding dress tomorrow. Kira is hell-bent on making sure I actually marry you, for some reason. He slung his arm around her waist. Good. Remind me to keep her on my good side, then. Melanie smiled at Olivia and Alexander, sighing. You guys are too freaking cute together. She looked over at the couches, her eyes meeting Tyler's, a dreamy expression spreading across her face before she snapped back to reality. Come, we're all over there. She led the way through the bar toward a large section of couches where quite a few people Olivia had never met sat enjoying some drinks and having a good time. And amongst all of them sat Tyler, looking just as nervous as Olivia felt. Is Kira here yet? Olivia asked Melanie. No, not yet. But she should be here soon, I think. Olivia tensed up when she saw everyone in the group eye her and Alexander as they sat down in the seats Melanie had pointed to. She still grew somewhat uneasy in social situations like this, hating how everyone stared at her because of whom she was there with. This is Olivia, one of my bestest friends in the whole wide world, she said. And this is her fiancé, Alexander Burnham. And, yes, it's the Alexander Burnham. He's Tyler's big brother. Melanie sat down, visibly bouncing in her seat. grabbing Tyler's hand in hers. Alexander leaned over to Olivia. "Are you okay with all of this?" he whispered in her ear. "It's fine, Alexander," she said quietly, giving him a reassuring smile. "Don't worry about me," he sighed, brushing that errant curl out of her eye. "It's my job to worry about you, love." "Hey, who brought the party?" a voice called out seconds later. Olivia breathed a sigh of relief when she heard her friend's voice. She got up and wrapped her arms around Kira, winking at Mo over her shoulder. "Happy to see me, huh, Libby? You have no idea," she replied under her breath. Mo and Alexander exchanged a handshake as a server came by to take some drink orders. Melanie introduced everyone, but Olivia knew she would never remember all their names. She laughed a little at the look on Tyler's face as he spoke with his brother, keeping his eyes trained on Melanie and smiling affectionately at the bubbly blonde. While she enthusiastically spoke with all of her friends, Olivia had seen that look before. Tyler was in deep. She thought that maybe this was a good thing for Melanie. She had never seen her out with anyone and knew that she was lonely and desperate to feel a deeper connection with someone. She was incredibly sweet, but got her heart stomped on more times than anyone should. Although she had just turned 22, Melanie was wise beyond her years, and she wanted something more than a quick hookup, something like what Olivia and Alexander had. Maybe Tyler could give that to her. "Well, we should probably go set up," Mo said after a few drinks. Olivia nodded and they said their farewells to Melanie and her crowd of friends, Kira and Alexander joining them as they made their way through the bustling bar. "So, we need to start planning for Vegas," Kira said as she and Olivia walked up the stairs behind Alexander and Mo. "What's this?" Alexander asked, stopping abruptly on the stairs and turning around to look at Olivia. "When are you going to Vegas, and why?" He crossed his arms in front of his chest, a concerned look covering his face. "Chill. It's for the bachelorette party," Kira responded, trying to brush him off. "When were you going to tell me about this?" "Olivia?" He glared at her, his tone accusatory. "Relax." "Alexander," she said, not wanting to fight about something as insignificant as going to Vegas with a few of her friends. Kira just threw it out there. "We haven't made any plans just yet. No need to get all bent out of shape over this." Olivia noticed that Kira and Mo had disappeared. Cowards, she thought to herself, making a mental note to murder Kira for opening up this can of worms. "Olivia, I protect what's mine," he said sternly, his eyes intense. "Something could happen to you while you're in Vegas, and I'd be nowhere to be found." "For crying out loud! Alex, you're being ridiculous." She attempted to walk past him up the stairs. He blocked her way. She glared at him, her eyes full of venom. "And stop talking about me like I'm a piece of fucking property or someone you need to protect. I'm not a child. You need to stop trying to control every little thing about my life." Alexander stared at her, her voice becoming louder. "You have to let me make my own decisions and stop being so fucking suffocating." She pushed against his chest and stormed past him. He let her go, still in shock over her words. "Am I suffocating?" he asked under his breath to no one in particular. "Yeah, you can be." He hadn't noticed Kira standing at the top of the stairs. She appeared sorry for saying anything about the Vegas trip. "You need to remember that Olivia's been on her own her entire life," she explained. "She's taken care of herself for as long as she can remember. So you need to ease up on your controlling tendencies. I know you love her and you just want to keep her safe. But you've got to let her do what she wants to do, or you'll lose her again." Kira sent him a pleading look, hoping that his overbearing behavior wouldn't tear them apart. "But I worry about her," he said quietly. "That's no excuse. I worry about her too, and I still let her date you." She winked. "If I were you, I'd get your ass up there and apologize to that girl." Kira glared at him for several long moments before softening her gaze. "I know you mean well, but sometimes you need to be more compassionate. Stop looking at her as someone who needs protection or saving." "Okay." Alexander sighed. "I get it. I'll try." Kira smiled, returning back to her normal cheery self. "Good. Now get back in there and apologize to my best friend because, so help me God, if I have to call and cancel all the dress shopping appointments I booked for tomorrow, I will rip your balls off." She turned and bounced across the empty room toward the stage where Mo was setting up. Alexander scanned the dance floor and saw Olivia standing at the bar getting a drink with a few of the band members. "Olivia," he said quietly as he walked up behind her. She grabbed a shot off the bar and slammed back the small glass filled with the silver tequila she needed. After swallowing the liquid, she spun around, her eyes shooting daggers through him. She was pissed. The rest of the band members grabbed their drinks and left quickly. The tension between Olivia and Alexander obvious. "Olivia, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I just get so jealous sometimes. I want all your time. I know it's selfish of me to want that, but it drives me crazy to think that something could happen to you and I won't be able to do anything about it." His eyes pleaded with her. She took a sip of her beer as she absorbed Alexander's words. "Alex, you have to trust me to make my own decisions. I'm an adult, for crying out loud. You can't always be by my side. I need my own space, and I need time with my friends. I know, and I'm so sorry." He grabbed her hands in his, gently caressing her skin. Leaning down, he planted a soft kiss on her neck, lingering several seconds as he breathed against her skin. Shivers ran down Olivia's spine, loving the feeling of Alexander's lips on her neck, or any part of her body, for that matter. "Okay," she exhaled. Apology accepted. She wrapped her arms around him and ran her fingers up and down his muscular back, thinking how it was nearly impossible for her to stay angry at him for too long. "I hate fighting with you." He grabbed Olivia's chin, forcing her to look into his sincere eyes before placing a gentle kiss on her lips. "Why do we seem to argue all the time?" he asked, as he brought her head back into his chest, holding her close to his body. "Because you are the most frustrating man I've ever known." She smiled and listened to his heartbeat, feeling safe as his warmth surrounded her. "You're the only one who can fix or ruin everything in the blink of an eye," she said quietly. He pulled back, staring down at her, unsure of how to respond to that. He didn't know what to think of her revelation. Was that true? She noticed the forlorn look on Alexander's face after muttering those words, and it broke her heart. "And that's one of the many reasons I'm madly in love with you, Alexander," she said, smiling. "There's never a dull moment with you around." She winked, walking away. Alexander watched her hips sway as she bounded up the stage, guilt overwhelming his conscience for constantly keeping her in the dark about her past. Olivia was right. He could ruin everything. Maybe he already had ruined everything, and she just didn't know it yet. But he couldn't tell her. What if her father was right, and her lack of knowledge was the only thing keeping her alive? Until he knew more, she needed to stay in the dark. It was the only way.